Warning, the following video contains instances of extreme violence. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hi guys, and many thanks for joining me. If you are new to my channel, hi, I'm Kat and I like to talk about crime investigations, missing people, conspiracy theories and everything related. Please don't forget to subscribe by hitting the subscribe button below. Also hit the notification bell so you are the first one to know about any new videos I upload. And for my subscribers, I would like to thank you so much for all your support and all your lovely comments. Now, before we get started, here is the disclaimer. I do not mean to be disrespectful to anyone I talk about in this video. The video is for entertainment and educational purposes only. All the information I gather is from the internet, which I compiled together to make a video, and now you guys are more than welcome to draw your own conclusion from it. Thank you. Today I want to talk to you about Ted Bundy, an American serial killer. Theodore Robert Bundy, born November 24th, 1946 in Burlington, Vermont, US, died on January 24th, 1989 in Starke, Florida. He is known as one of the most notorious criminals of the 20th century, an American serial killer and rapist. He described himself as the most cold-hearted son of a you'll ever meet. Having a difficult childhood and a strained relationship with his stepfather, his shyness made him an easy target for bullying. However, his intelligence and social skills later on in life enabled him to enjoy a successful college career. 1974. Police in the Pacific Northwest are in panic. Women are missing. Across Oregon and Washington, women are disappearing at an alarming rate. Law enforcement has very few leads. Over the spring and summer, in just 6 months, 6 women are abducted. But the panic reaches sky high when Janice Ann Ott and Denise Marie Naslund vanish in the middle of the day from a popular and crowded beach at Lake Sammamish State Park. These are the boldest of the abductions, which also lead to the first break in the case. On the day Janice and Denise disappear, some other women at the beach are being approached by a charming young man with a brown Volkswagen Beetle, trying to persuade them to get in the car. And this man introduces himself as Ted. After his description is released to the public, the police is contacted by 4 people who give the same Seattle resident, Ted Bundy. And these 4 people were Bundy's ex-girlfriend, a close friend of his psychology teacher, and one of his co-workers. Although the police received numerous tips, they dismiss Ted Bundy straight away. They think a clean-cut law student with no criminal record would be impossible to be the kidnapper. He just doesn't fit the profile. So now the police allows more victims to fall prey to Ted Bundy. In the 70s, across 7 states, he takes at least 30 victims because of so many similar judgments like the ones above. But Ted Bundy's first attack is not a murder, but an assault on an 8-year-old Karen Sparks, student and dancer at the University of Washington. Bundy breaks into her apartment, hits her with a metal rod from the bed frame, knocks her unconscious and sexually assaults her with the same weapon. This leaves Karen in a coma for 10 days and with permanent disabilities, permanent brain damage, a loss of 50% of her hearing, 40% of her vision, and constant ringing in her ears. Can you imagine living a whole life with the constant ringing in your ears apart from the whole traumatic experience you had? January 31st, 1974. A month after the attack on Karen Sparks, Ted Bundy strikes again. He breaks into Linda Ann Healy's apartment, another student at the University of Washington. He knocks her unconscious, dresses her body up, carries her to his car, and she's never seen again. Part of her skull is discovered years later at one of Bundy's burial sites around Taylor Mountain. And Bundy doesn't stop here. He continues targeting female students in the area, but now he's getting quite clever and he's developing a technique where he approaches women wearing a cast, pretending to be disabled and needs help to carry something to his car. Then he would knock them unconscious before binding, raping, and killing them, dumping their bodies in woodland areas. Oh, this is the next bit is just, oh my god, I can't even imagine this. He would often revisit these sites to have sex with his victims' decaying bodies. He would also sometimes decapitate his victims and he would keep their heads as trophies. The ultimate possession was in fact the taking of the life, Bundy once said. And then the physical possession of the remains. Murder is not just a crime of lust or violence, he explained. It becomes possession. They are part of you. The victim becomes a part of you. And you two are forever one. And the grounds where you kill them and leave them become sacred to you. And you will always be drawn back to them. Over the next 5 months, Bundy abducts and murders 5 female students in the Pacific Northwest. Donna Gail Manson, Susan Elaine Rancourt, Roberta Kathleen Parks, Brenda Carol Ball, and Georgianne Hawkins. Police are in a frenzy right now. They just can't find out what's happening. They call on different government agencies to help look for the missing girls, start a major investigation. I wonder if they would have listened to those 4 people who came forward with information about Ted Bundy. They even recognize him. But in a major twist of events, guess which one of the agencies police decides to ask for help? Oh, this is unbelievable. None other than Washington State Department of Emergency Services, and this is the place where Bundy works. So how is this going to work out? At the same agency, Bundy meets Carol Ann Boone, a twice-divorced mom of 2, and they start dating on and off for the following years, whilst the murders still continue. The manhunt continues. More and more witnesses come forward with strikingly similar descriptions which match Ted Bundy and his brown car. And just as some victims' bodies are discovered in the wood, Bundy moves to Salt Lake City after he's been accepted to a law school in Utah. How convenient for him, right? And just at the right time. Same year, different city. And of course, Bundy doesn't stop. Whilst in Utah, he continues raping and murdering young women, 4 teenage girls in Utah, and a hitchhiker in Idaho, Nancy Wilcox, Melissa Smith, Laura Amy, and Debbie Kent. Now, check this out. Elizabeth Klopfer calls the police a second time after she learns Bundy moved to Utah and learns of the murders there. She tells police she's certain Bundy is behind these murders. There is now a pile of evidence pointing at Bundy. And when Washington investigators start compiling the data, Ted Bundy is finally their top suspect. But at this point, Bundy is still not aware that he's a suspect, and he goes to Colorado to murder more women. August 1975. Bundy is pulled over whilst driving through a Salt Lake City suburb. Now this is getting interesting. The police find in his car the kit. The murder kit. Ted Bundy has this murder kit with him all the time, always prepared and ready for his next kill. And this is what his murder kit has. A woolen ski mask, nylon stockings, red-handled ice pick, crowbar, handcuffs, flashlight, white clothesline rope, orange electrical cord, long strips of torn bed sheet for tying up victims, 2 different gloves, Glad trash bags, and a woman's belt. But even this is not enough for the police to arrest him. However, one of the officers realizes he's also a suspect in other earlier killings, so he's now placed under surveillance. Bundy sells his Beetle. He just gets rid of it. But police find the car later, after tracing it, where they discover hair matching 3 of his victims. Having this kind of evidence, they can now put him in a lineup. And he is identified by one of the women he attempted to abduct. He is convicted of assault and kidnapping, and he is sent to prison in Aspen, whilst the police are trying to build up a murder case on him. But let me tell you this, arrest does not stop Bundy from killing. No. He is very determined. 1977. Bundy escapes custody from the law library at the courthouse in Aspen, Colorado. And this would be the first of 2 times he manages to escape. Being a law student, he is representing himself, so he is allowed access to the law library during break. But the fact that he is his own lawyer means that he's not being handcuffed. So he sees his chance and bam, he takes it. He escapes through the second floor window, and he runs out in the woods. And by the time the guard comes in to check on him, he's long gone. His plan is to make his way to the Aspen Mountain. So he breaks into a cabin and later into a trailer for supplies, but he barely finds any, so he decides to disappear into the wilderness. Back in Aspen, he steals a car with the thought of distancing himself from the cell he fled. But because of reckless speeding, he is spotted again by the police, and he is recaptured 6 days after being on the run. 6 months later, Bundy escapes yet again, this time from his prison cell. He is carefully studying the prison's map when he realizes his cell is right beneath the living quarters of the prison's chief's jailer, and these 2 rooms are only separated by a crawl space. So, clever Bundy, he finds a way to escape. After trading with an inmate, Bundy grabs a hacksaw, and whilst his cellmates are exercising and showering, he scrapes away at the ceiling layer by layer of plaster. The space he makes is really small, so what he does, he eats less and less so he can lose weight, so he can fit in that tiny space. Clever Bundy, I say it again. But this time, he's not rushing, he plans ahead. And with the help of Carol Ann Boone, he saves a pile of money, and these are the money that she actually smuggled for him when she went visiting in the prison. He finishes the crawl space and crawls up into the chief's quarters, changes into civilian clothes, and leaves the prison. As soon as he's out, he steals a car and heads straight to Florida. This time Bundy is thinking to keep a low profile, of course. But life in Florida really is hard if you don't have any money. He doesn't have an identification, so he can't get a job. He has to steal, and the urge for violence is just simply too strong for him, so he can't help himself. January the 5th, 1978. Just 2 weeks after his escape, Bundy finds another target. He breaks into a Chi Omega sorority house on the Florida State University campus. In just 15 minutes, 15 minutes, He assaults and kills Margaret Bowman and Lisa Levi. He hits them with firewood and strangles them with stockings. Then he's just not getting enough. Then he assaults Katie Kleiner and Karen Chandler, who are both left with horrendous injuries, including missing teeth and broken jaws. And he is unstoppable. He breaks into Cheryl Thomas' apartment just a few blocks away from the campus. And Cheryl, she's beaten so badly that she loses her hearing completely. Can you imagine? Oh, February the 8th, 1978. He is still on a killing spree and still on the run, which makes him more dangerous. Bundy abducts 12-year-old Kimberly Diane Leach from her middle school and murders her, hiding her body on a pig farm. But then his reckless driving gets the attention of the police yet again. Yes. At this point, the police realize the plate is of a stolen car. So they search it and discover 3 IDs of the women he killed, which link him to the FSU crimes. But what he tells next to the arresting officer is really interesting, and it strikes me very much unlike him really. Whilst doing my research, I tried to picture him and what actually drove him to these serial killings, but mostly I'm just trying to make sense of him really. He strikes me as a really arrogant individual, narcissistic and quite possessive at the same time. When he hunted for his victims at the beach, he did it in such an arrogant manner as if he's untouchable in broad daylight. But then the way he's luring these women into his trap by touching their empathetic side when he pretends to be disabled. He knows how these women are thinking, and he knows how a person would react to a certain situation, and he's sort of morphing into the kind of person that these women are looking for. It seems as if this is a bit of a ritual really, but then as soon as he's kidnapping them, he strikes so quick as if he's only satisfied by their death. But then he visits the burial sites for sexual contact with the decomposing bodies. It's like he does not want to let go. Or perhaps he's so proud of his work that he's aroused by looking at it. I wish you had killed me, Bundy tells the arresting officer. But is it guilt Bundy's feeling? I wonder. And yet somehow I can't seem to imagine that. During his trial, Bundy sabotages himself by not listening to the advice of his lawyers and chooses to represent himself. But is it the narcissistic side of him doing this? Or he wants to be stopped, and by going to prison would be the only way he thinks he can be stopped? I would describe him being as close to being like the devil as anyone I ever met, said defense investigator Joseph Alloy. Bundy is convicted and placed on death row at Florida's Rayford prison, where he's abused by other prisoners, allegedly even gang raped. But check this out. He also conceived a child with Carol Ann Boone after marrying her whilst being on trial. Oh God, I can't even imagine. Having sexual contact with decomposing bodies, and at the same time you go home to your girlfriend, partner, wife, who is a living person. Oh no, I don't want to get there, but that is beyond disgusting. And I really do feel so sorry for all those souls lost. Although a serial killer, each day of his trial there would be these women in court called groupies who would show up with their hair parted in the middle, wearing hoop earrings. Some even dye their hair brown, believing they will look like the women he killed. I don't get this obsession about serial killers. I've heard this times and times before, that you I don't know. How can you like a serial killer when you know how many people a serial killer killed? How can you like them? Ooh, no, 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 no. He receives fan mail from women all over the world. They love him. They want to look like his victims. They want to look like his victims. But in the hopes of what? There is, in fact, a condition which is called hybristophilia. And these people suffering with this condition are sexually aroused by the object of their affection's wrongdoing. In Bundy's case, the women, his fans, are aroused by the way he murdered his victims, by what he did before and after killing them. They find it fascinating and attractive. One thing in common to all these women would probably be insecurity and the willingness to have their sense of self determined by the man they are involved with. January 24th, 1989. Hundreds of people gather outside the courthouse as Ted Bundy is executed by electric chair. For everything he did to the girls, the bludgeoning, the strangulation, humiliating their bodies, torturing them, I feel that the electric chair is too good for him, said Eleanor Rose, the mother of victim Dennis Naslund. Now honestly, in my opinion, I have exactly the same opinion as Eleanor Rose. I think that the electric chair was too good for him. Even though Bundy confessed to many murders before his death, the true numbers of victims is really unknown. He denied certain killings, although the physical evidence tied him to them, but then he also alluded to others which were not substantiated. Authorities suspect Ted Bundy killed between 30 to 40 women, even though he confessed to killing 30 women, but the real number, even to this day, remains unknown. Many thanks for watching, everyone. If you want to see more of my videos, please don't forget to subscribe by hitting the subscribe button below and also hit the notification bell so you are the first one to know about any new videos I upload. Thank you guys, take care and be safe. Bye bye.